Throw away this book of the Bible, and I can promise you, you'll throw away any opportunity you'll ever have to understand Bible prophecy. If you know the book of Proverbs and you know it well, understanding the patterns, the underlying currents of how knowledge is being dispersed to you and the wisdom of that knowledge, the content of that knowledge itself will feed your ability to understand the natural ebb and flows that come in Bible prophecy. In other words, let me simply say this. If you void yourself of a book like the book of Proverbs, you void yourself of the opportunity to understand Bible prophecy as God intended for it. Matter of fact, let me take it a step further. If you don't know the book of Proverbs, and you choose to walk away from understanding it, you will never be good at knowing Bible prophecy. Can I give you one example of this? Proverbs chapter 3 tells us something unique. You don't even have to turn there. You can if you want. I'm going to quote it from memory. It doesn't matter. If you want to read it, you can write it down. You can mark it in your Bible. Proverbs chapter 3 says this, starting in verse 5. It says, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Full stop. Lean not on your own understanding. Full stop. In all your ways, acknowledge him, and he will direct thy paths. There's a promise that comes with the first three commands. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Don't lean on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. This is the most common verse quoted to people who want to know what God's will is for their life. Nothing wrong with wanting to know what God's will is for your life, right? And Proverbs chapter 3 is the perfect formula for that. But that's the nominal version of that tool and for what it can be used. Looking at that passage to determine what God's will for your life is like taking a screwdriver and using it to hammer a nail in, right? It works and it can be beneficial, but you're not using it for the tool that it was intended to be used for, right? Or it would be like taking a hammer and hammering into wood what a wood screw would be doing for a screw that goes into wood. You understand what I'm saying? You're using the wrong tool for the wrong purpose. Think about this for a second, and I'm going to make the case you're going to understand it. Hopefully it'll come to life for you. Trust the Lord with all your heart. Don't lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. Think about those commands in context of Bible prophecy for just one moment, right? God tells you something is going to happen. You can handle it one of two ways. You can say, wow, be a spectator, be a little leery of it, and maybe think, I'll believe it when I see it. Or you could hear the prophetic word given to you and you can say, I'm going to trust in the Lord with my whole heart, right? Then you can start to reason it out. Well, how in the world can that even happen? I mean, I know God's word says it's going to happen, but man, I can't see how this can work. I remember 10 years ago, Don Stewart calls me up. He says, James, what are you doing on Monday? Go, I got stuff to do, but no, I'm going to tell you what you're going to do. You're going to come down to the K-Wave studio and you're going to do Pastor's Perspective with me. It's the very first episode of Pastor's Perspective that I ever did with Don. And Don introduces me to everybody on Pastor's Perspective as the coronated expert on the Middle East. And I kind of looked at Don and I kind of muted the radio while the questions going on. I'm like, dude, we all don't look the same, number one. And I'm not an expert just because I'm from there, okay? And he laughed a little bit. He goes, shut up, man. I know what it's all about, you know? So we got people asking us questions. And they call up and again and again and again, they're asking all kinds of questions. The number one questions that were coming in were questions about, you guessed it, because of the time period, ISIS. Right? Oh, James, what do you think about ISIS? Are you concerned about ISIS? Are you concerned about ISIS? I said something that got somebody so angry at me that they wrote me a letter from prison, threatening to kill me if they got off. I kid you not. This is what I said. I'm not worried about ISIS. Yeah, don't get me wrong. Look, ISIS represents the Sunni. They're the majority of Muslims. What I think we should really worry about is Iran. People thought I was crazy. And then they thought I was even crazier because I said, and by the way, when it comes to Iran, what we really should start looking forward to or looking for is the possibility that Iran might somehow find itself in Syria working with the Russians and the Turks. People thought I was a kook. They said, you're nuts. I got crazy letters. I even had one of the guys at K-Wave tell me, maybe you really ought to not talk about that kind of stuff, right? Because it's so far-fetched. Well, what did Proverbs tell me? Trust in the Lord with all of my heart. Okay, check. I believe God's word. Don't lean on your own understanding. My own understanding says in world history, Iran has never worked with Russia, particularly in Syria. That's never happened. The Turks very likely are not going to get involved on any level because they're still kind of friends with Israel. There's no way. That's not going to happen. Guess what leaning on my own understanding drives me to? Leaning on my own understanding drives me to come to a conclusion based on current circumstances that are not biblical. Well, that'll never happen. No, sorry. I'm not concerned with ISIS. Oh yeah, I'm concerned with the fact that they're Muslims, and if you're a Islamic fundamentalist, that means you believe in the fundamentals of the Quran, which means you believe in death to anybody who opposes Allah or does not submit to Allah. So fine, fair enough. I guess I'm concerned with that aspect, but I'm really more concerned with something that nobody is concerned with. And what happens? They mock you. They think you're crazy. You're stupid. You're this, you're that. A little bit of time goes by, and all of a sudden, what do we begin to hear? 2 years later, right? Maybe 3 years later, Obama draws the line. He says, I'm drawing a red line in the sand.
A red line for us is we start seeing a whole bunch of chemical weapons moving around.
Remember that whole speech? And he says, Syria better not do what it does. And pretty soon what happens? Russia says, Obama, don't worry about it. You're not putting your foot down. I'm going to go visit a little place called Georgia, and I'm going to spend some time over there while we start messing around with Crimea. And if you want some help in the Middle East, you can come see us. And when all of that started to happen, you know what Russia started doing? Russia started creeping in to Syria, right? Now, when you stop to look at the condition right now, let's just hit the rewind button to 2 years ago. Almost 2 years ago, Russia has a meeting. Putin specifically has a meeting with all of his men. He publishes the content of a security meeting for one phrase to get out to the whole world, and that's this: we need to protect our border that borders Israel. Anybody who knows anything about geography says, wait, that doesn't make sense. There is no Russian border against Israel. What Putin was actually saying is, we are in Syria and we're here to stay, and we are actually declaring our position at the Syrian-Israeli border as sovereign territory that cannot be infringed upon by anybody in the international community. And you know what the rest of the world did? They didn't say a word. They didn't peep. This is after Crimea. This is after Georgia. This is after all the crazy things that happened. Oh, let's back up for a second. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, check. Lean not on your own understanding. If you leaned on your own understanding, you wouldn't even believe that Iran would have been an enemy of Israel. Iran was friends with Israel until the late 70s. Most people would look at that and say, no way Iran becomes an enemy of any of them. There's no way. You trust in God's word, you realize, oh, that makes sense. You listen to an old recording that Pastor Chuck did in the 1970s. Actually, early 1970s, where he said he's not worried about the Cold War. He's not worried about what's going on between the United States and Russia. Matter of fact, goes as far as to say, United States is not going to be all that consequential, so don't worry about it. What I'd worry about is Iran and Russia. And people are like, you're nuts. You're crazy. Boy, Chuck would roll in his grave if he got to see all the things that we're formulating right now that he said would happen. Trust the Lord with all your heart. Don't lean on your own understanding. When you don't lean on your own understanding, do you understand how much more Bible prophecy opens up to you, right? In all your ways, acknowledge him. What does that mean? How often do you hear people teach Bible prophecy that seem to be on a good path forward? They seem to really know what they're talking about and do what they're doing. And they end up kind of getting to a spot where they begin to start saying really crazy things. You ever heard that, right? Oh, I've heard some nutso things being said. I've heard prophecy guys talk about the kind of things that are just absolutely cuckoo, right? Like cuckoo. Just go completely off the deep end. Why? Because they may have trusted in God with all of their heart. They may have not leaned on their own understanding, but at some point, they stopped acknowledging God in all their ways. So now all of a sudden, they're making predictions about when the rapture is going to happen. Or all of a sudden, they're beginning to say all kinds of things that are coming down the road that have nothing to do with what the scripture ever insinuated. Why? Because there was a point in time where you took your eyes off the Lord and you started bringing things into fruition based on your own understanding, your own ideas, your own thoughts. You stopped acknowledging God. What's the promise? You trust the Lord with all your heart. You don't lean on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge him. That's the killer one, right? In all your ways, acknowledge him. And what will he do? He will direct your paths. You understand the idea behind directing your paths? I look at it like Mario Kart. Anybody ever played Mario Kart before, right? Okay, I'm being funny here. You gotta bear with me when I do this, right? I think I've played Mario Kart a total amount of times in my adult life, married to my wife, maybe 100 times, right? We'll play it every now and again, one game at night, most of the time when the kids are asleep so that nobody hears what's going on, and we'll play one game with one another, right? Typically about 20 minutes of our life we can't get back, but it's fun. There's a little mode we both turn on when we play this game, and the mode, actually, when you click it, keeps the go-kart from falling off the edge, right? So you could technically, when you're playing with it this way, it's like having the bumper shields up, like the bumpers when you're bowling, right? It's the same kind of thing. When you start going in the wrong direction, what does it do? It steers you, right? So you don't fall off the edge. When you acknowledge God in all of your ways, it's like you flipping that switch. Guess what happens? You could be going straight towards the edge at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and you know what God's going to do? He's going to steer you away from it. In all your ways, acknowledge him, and he will do what? He will direct your paths. In other words, he's going to keep you looking in the right direction. Most of the time when you see guys teaching Bible prophecy, when they take their eyes off the Lord, they start saying crazy, insane things that don't relate to the validity of what's being communicated. They just lose their minds. Why? Because they stopped acknowledging the Lord. By the way, it's very interesting. It's not a coincidence how the next verse says, be not wise in thine own eyes. Fear the Lord and depart from evil. Now it begins to make sense. If you were to look at this just from the perspective of practical application that has nothing to do with Bible prophecy, you would lose. You would never understand how it all culminates. By the way, there are lots of passages like this in the book of Proverbs.